I hope you're all enjoying it, whether you're here physically or watching live stream, wherever you are in the Buffo Nation. So I am Rak Razam, and I am the MC for our panel discussion this afternoon, or this morning, which is all about the God experience. So apologies in advance if that word offends you, the G-O-D. You can call it whatever you want. It's a feeling, it's a connection, it's a remembrance, it's a presence, it's a being, it's real. I mean, I never really believed in G-O-D. You could call it divine source, consciousness, whatever label. I like source. Source is a little bit more non-denominational. I never really believed in that. I grew up Christian. I grew up with comic books, and like Jesus and the saints were just like the world of Krypton. They were just stories, right? And I went through my psychedelic initiation, and I felt connected to nature. I felt connected to capacities within myself. I still felt perhaps there was a potential for the G-O-D, but I never really felt it in my heart, in my knowing, not in my mind and my ego, until 5-MeO-DMT. And then it was not just ineffable, but inescapable. It was everywhere, and I was everywhere being it, and it was being me. So we've spent quite a lot of valuable time over the last 2 days talking about different aspects of the Buffo alvarius toad and its integration into our community globally. And at the heart of it is the potential for this mystical experience. So that is what our panel is about, the guts, the creamy center in this sweetness of our culture. And I'd like to just pass this mic down and introduce some of my esteemed panelists here today, starting with Pete.
Hi, I'm Pete Prieto. This medicine, I think, connect with the spiritual lands. Are a lot of spiritual lands, and also I see your map.
Oh, yes, I wish I brought it.
Yes. And I think I am working also in a map of these spiritual worlds, and not only is up, maybe are more down, you know, the black experience, the inferno things, and you need to accept your darkness, to accept your light. And it's very important to know that is, I don't know in English, I don't remember, como es arriba es abajo, it's...
Up and down is the same.
Como,
As above, so
yes. And the origin of the medicine is very important. The origin of the Buffo is a frog to live in the darkness 9 months, and we expecting they come to the light. And only 3 months the frog is in the light, you know. Maybe all the people expect come with the light, but not all the people have this experience, and it's important to know. But if you need to make a responsibility of your own darkness, and the universe is very wise. All the universe sustaining the darkness, the lights live in the darkness. And if you are more close to the light, more big is your shadow, you know. And it's important to know that, to know your own God. You are part of that. You are a part of the Great Spirit. When you smoke the Buffo, you connect with your own God. You are God. You are part of that. And
Which one? This one? Hello, my name is Janina Tomasini. About the God experience with the toad medicine, I think that the most beautiful and the most important message about this medicine is to remember that there is no answers outside, there is no goddess outside. It's more like understanding that you are part of this God, you are part of this beautiful creation, and that there is no questions to answer. It's more like understanding that life is so beautiful and perfect the way it is, and you just need to remember all the time the perfection of that. Thank you.
I'm on a short cord here. All right. More leash, thank you. So really, what everybody's doing and what's happening here, I think it's amazing. This is like cultural cutting edge. This is, I don't know, it's a good thing it's in Mexico. You wouldn't have a license to do this in the States, of course. But it is all about God and us becoming that. And like we are the manifestations. This is God incarnate. And if you've seen that map, you know, it's a good beginning. It's an offered as a working map. So if anybody has suggestions to modify that, I'd love to be able to present something that could work for everybody. And I really do appreciate, even on this panel, like everybody's going to say everything that needs to be said. I feel like I don't have to say much. But it's all about, as this guy said earlier, the ego and awakening to our true self beyond the ego. So we're all like captivated by this ego thing that dissolves, and then we become God and have that experience. And then we come back into this life, this body. Temporary mind, temporary body. But we're here to enjoy, we're here to kind of be God, to evolve into that etheric thing, more from our mammalian, our mammalian inheritance. We're going to deal with that, but not only deal with it, we're supposed to enjoy it. When you're eating the apple, enjoy that apple. And I hear love is the sexiest thing out there. So we're here to do this, and this guy knows what it's all about.
So they say, or maybe I say, who knows? I am Joel, and tatvam asi, that thou art. You are it. That in which we have sought since the beginning of time as humans, we are it. That ineffable light, that boundless, blissful, oceanic beauty, we are it. It is all about just remembering, and the toad is here, the alkaloid is here to help us remember. And we're all here together today, this weekend, to help each other in this teething and growing process, both as a community, as a culture, as an emerging and blossoming and remembering of our spiritual right as divine beings.
My name's Draupadi. I'm from Avalon, the mystical realm of Avalon in England. The God molecule and how we actually, because I have a bit of kind of difficulty around the fact that we can come back from this medicine and go, I am God. Because what resonates with me is that we all have the Spirit of God within every cell of our body. So does every animal. So does every leaf on every tree. So does every stone. Everything on this planet is God. And how do we relate to that? And the difficulty when our ego self comes back from this medicine and believes that I am God, I believe we're in trouble. Because I actually believe that that's how we fucked everything up in the first place, is the superiority, that we believe that we're God, that then allows us to go into another country and take the country from the people that are already there, that decimate animals, forests, you name it, the trouble that we're in at the moment. And I believe very strongly that the toad has come with this medicine so that we can embody the spirit of God, but humbly in ahimsa, as my dear brother spoke about earlier, in loving kindness to all beings, to be the same to all beings. Because in that we are all one, but on the other hand, in this age that we live in Kali Yuga, we have the angel and the demon living within our body. So what are we going to respond to within ourselves in this beautiful cooking pot of Maya? Thank you.
Oh. So that's some good points we'll get into a little bit later. I think it's important to start at the beginning, and in terms of the toad medicine being a catalyst for revealing the divine within, we know from some neuroscientific studies that 5-MeO is working on the parietal lobe and the frontal lobes of the brain, and it is assisting the lowering of the mind or the egoic mind, the sense of self or identity which thinks it is separate from everything else. And when that lowers, there's a potential for what the Vedic maps have left us, these understandings of states of consciousness that the ego mind is not meant to discern. It's meant to navigate the terrestrial world. But we have this capacity within us, which is where the divine lives and what we're connected to. And with this medicine, it doesn't always go there, because everyone is different. Everyone has a different capacity and a different need, and there may be baggage or layers or trauma or stresses. Everyone has this divine potential, like they say everyone has Buddha nature, but realizing that or fast-tracking that with Toad, what are the panelists' thoughts on the ability of Toad to reveal that, knowing it doesn't always happen, and are we fast-tracking our relationship with God, and is that like a Western approach to it? I open it to the panel.
Well, Rack, I want to say, like when you don't get there, as you say, some people don't get there. That's kind of being in the first realm, and it's their work to do that. That's where they're at. Like Pima Chodron says, start where you're at. So this is where people should start, and so it reveals to them their starting place.
I believe that we're all at different levels of awakening, and depending on how many human lives that we've had, how much enlightenment in each life that we've received, so it's like the sanskars that we have in our soul, in our akasha, will indicate on whether we get all the way home, whether we feel that we get all the way home, and how we integrate that into our lives. So I believe with the medicine, if we have had, say, many lives as yogis practicing, and we've been priests, priestesses, in that holy puja of our lives, it's much easier for us to attain that samadhi state than if we've maybe just had 3 or 4 human lives and we haven't evolved very much yet.
Well, this is my question, that there are potential dangers for the average citizen who may be taking 5-MeO and has heard about it. That boxer guy had it, it worked for him, and their soul may not be ready for it. Do you think there's a danger in Bufo being served to reveal that God too soon, too much?
I don't know whether there's a danger, but that, as we've seen, there are facilitators that feel that they've reached that state straight away and then want to go and give it to the rest of the world. And that's one of the things that we've obviously been addressing.
God pushes.
Well, the evangelist, like, I've got it, now everybody else has got to get it, because I'm going to give it to them, like that.
So you know what's interesting? In the Vedic traditions, there's this term bodhisattva, right? And it's like someone who is realizing their own divine nature and not leaving the game, but coming back to help humbly awaken others. But is this just the event horizon of the bodhisattvas coming in? Like, once enough people within the community have a mystical experience, whether that's from 5-MeO, synthetic toad, or spontaneous, or meditation, or breath work, is there enough of this process happening that the egos are involved, there's dangers of that, but is it a bodhisattva sort of like rollout?
I got to say, remember when we all started smoking marijuana, you'd smoke marijuana and everything would change. And now, like, you smoke marijuana, not much changes. I think it's the same with the toad. Like, we're doing the toad and everything changes. But as we do this and become comfortable with it, this will be more of a norm as we bring this into our lives. And then we will be the bodhisattva, which is basically living in love, which is the Sesame Street word for love is kindness. We can just be kind to each other, set up a bhakti field of kindness. So So this, I think what
Thank
you're
you.
asking is right on, but it is revealing.
Let's hear from the yogi. What does he think about all this?
Oh, mic's on me. The Bodhisattva. So, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I was in India and I was doing a 3-day teaching with the Dalai Lama, in which the third day he was offering the Bodhisattva initiation. And I politely declined. The thought of agreeing to come back in incarnation and put this human suit on lifetime after lifetime until every sentient being has reached awareness. At the time, I wasn't up for it. Are we in a bodhisattva blossoming now? I truly do feel that this medicine is here not by coincidence to help foster this emerging of consciousness, this evolving of consciousness, to help shine a light on our path home. And again, this is just one path out of many. But the dangers of it being revealed to people who may not yet be ready, I say that's where screening comes in. It is our responsibility as practitioners to screen people appropriately, because glimpsing the truth before you're ready has fabled tales of destruction and awful things. And we've seen the mental instability that has followed some people who have gone in when they are not quite ready to let go. So yeah, I think there can be danger, but not as danger as in we should take caution and hide this medicine, but make sure competent people are serving it.
I want to talk in this one. I think you need to first clean your house to see God, you know? And it's a process. Maybe if you have this fight to lose your ego, you need to make a shield, to make a I don't know, una espada, as make your armor to this fight. The real fight is with you. It's not to the others. All the creation is inside you, and all your internal problems, you are living in the outside world. And if you think the Bufo is a process, it's not only one experience and you blow your mind. You know, this is not that. Maybe you need to start in small dose, cleaning your house, and walk with this, and understanding, and clean your house to see, and come to God, and this release, this is, I think, is the more correct thing that you can do. And the other people are not working that way. It's very difficult. Yes, it's dangerous. You're forcing the people to things they don't are prepared.
This brings up really good points. Did you want to talk?
Yes. All the Congress I have been listening these words of who is prepared and who is not prepared for receiving the medicine. In my opinion, the thought medicine is a human right. It's something that everyone needs to know, and if they are not prepared, the integration part of it is going to be really important. But we cannot be judgmental and saying like, by my ego, I think that you are not ready for it, because who am I? Who am I to say who is prepared for it? But if someone have the desire of cleaning that house, of connecting with God, of allowing themselves to go farther than this reality, I think that is something that is open to everyone.
Oh. Let's put that in context, because all through recorded his story, the ones who made it into the history books, there's a famous book by William Morris Buck, came out 100 years or so ago, called Cosmic Consciousness. I think Scott mentioned it in his talk. And it maps the endogenous, usually, manifestation of the divine in the human form, whether that's in a Buddha or a Christ or Muhammad or William Blake, or like we have the capacity to remember our divine nature. And it's really only since the 20th century on, when artificial lighting interfering with the natural rhythms of the earth, and remembering tryptamines are potentiated in darkness. If you're in a darkness retreat for 10 or more days, which indigenous cultures still do, and Mantak Chia, the tantric master, runs them in Thailand, the melatonin skin pigment, which is a tryptamine, leaves the serotonin pathways after a few days. The tryptamines, including NN and 5-MeO, start to aggregate in the being, and you can have an endogenous 5-MeO experience. In fact, the cascade is actually the melatonin leaves. Pinealine is produced in the brain as a booster MEO type relationship. 5-MeO naturally endogenously aggregates into that experience, and then NN-DMT happens as the visionary state. We have this capacity, but we've lost the way. We've forgotten. And many of these ancient cultures have left us maps, and they're not just metaphors. And so what a beautiful surprise that this modern Bufo nation culture is blossoming across the world just at this point of human collapse and ecological catastrophe. There seems to be a bigger mechanism unfolding that we're all part of. So we all have this potential, and how do we support people into realizing that it's not just you rock up to your Bufo session and you have this peak experience? How do we support them into creating a platform for preparation, initiation, and integration? Panelists?
I think that the most important thing is dosage, is to use a scale when you are providing the medicine, to start slowly. It's like, imagine that it's a person that never goes to a river, never swim in a river, and you just throw this person to this huge river. So if we start with a plan of understanding the toad experience not as a one life experience, more like a path to start, I think that is the best way of understanding.
I think we are doing that now. In the association, in the page of Facebook, we are sharing a lot of knowledge, and we part of the videos, a part is before you smoke the toad, tell us that you need to know that, and you need to make a responsibility. Your life is about change now, and you are preparing to make this change. Some people go to a ceremony with the Bufo, and they think you are healing and with a page of magic or something like that, and I am healed with us. No, you need to make a responsibility of your healing. This tool only brings to you your power to heal yourself. It's not. It's all inside you, and this is only a part.
Do you think that's emphasized enough by practitioners that, we said in the other talk, the toad is like the finger pointing at the source, but it's not the source itself. It's that it's revealing that they have the divine nature within them. But do you think there's too much emphasis put on toad as the thing doing it to you, when really it's just opening the door to your own God self?
I think is the key. It's part of the key. It's not the only key. I don't know is the toad is the most important tool. Is one of the keys. It's not the only one. Meditation also is very good one, and the people need to choose his own tools to know himself. Part of the process of the life is losing you and know you later. If you are all the time doing the right things, you really don't know you. You are following only the social and the family patterns and not yours. All the way is personal. It's a personal journey. The life is a personal journey. Maybe we share with the people, and in a part of the life we share a company of few ones and another. All the things are moving, and I think the Bufo have all the information of the universe inside this molecule, and it's like a book. All the big library is lost in the history because the people, if you want to read a book, first you need to know the words and know the meaning of the and all the people maybe use this badly, and I think because of that lose, and maybe all the information of the universe is in the side of this venom, and you can access, and the first chapter is about you. After you read the book of Jude, you can access to another kind of information.
Well, speaking of, here's the thing in a nutshell. What Toad reveals is in you all along, right? We're never not connected. We're always connected. We're always loved. We're always part of the unified field. But we forget we're in this phase in human history of egoic consciousness, which may be a response of species PTSD from the fall of consciousness when we used to be connected in cyclic time. And this is a geography. Like God is a geography. It's a space. It's not just a peak experience. It's a space that's within you that you are invited to be in relationship with, to nurture that seed. So after you have a full galactivation and your God peak experience in a Toad session, and then you come back, there's potential for reactivations. There's potential for relationship with that space. And from other practitioners and other community members I've talked to, some of the best modalities to nurture that relationship include, as Pete mentioned, meditation, breath work, self-nurturing, and I believe my brother Joel has been developing a platform with some other Toad community members in regards to how to both integrate, not to switch off, but to go from, as you said in your talk earlier, a non-abiding state of God consciousness to an abiding state, or a permanent, ongoing relationship with the God within. Could you tell more?
I'd love to. So, the Toad, or the 5-MeO, is an amazing tool to help us flex our surrender muscle. This transition from self to infinite doesn't just happen automatically. I think we all know that. I mean, the medicine can't just make you go right to a non-dual absorbed state. If you don't want to go, then your mind is going to fight it. Then you can hold yourself back and really end up in an intense place for a little while. But it teaches us how to surrender, and then that muscle can be used in our daily life. When you learn to fully surrender into that present moment, when you are giving up everything that you are and identify with, when you are releasing your whole paradigm, which is a terrifying thing in of itself, that's a muscle that can be strengthened. And so then when you take that into your daily practice or your meditation practice, talk about being in the present moment, when you completely surrender into the present moment and just, there's an extinguishing of the flame of moksha. The illusory world of Maya is dissolved. So when we learn to just soften in and really surrender into the present moment with the medicine, this can be taken into our daily lives. This can be taken into our meditation practice. Let's say you're engaging in pranayama or breathing technique and you've just done a solid one. That space right afterwards, those few seconds to few minutes to hours or days, can just really be juicy. So when you sit in that space and then completely surrender into that space, that's when those endogenous 5-MeO experiences really start to happen. That's when you can start to control your activations or reactivations. And yeah, like Rax said, a few yogis and myself have been gathering and experimenting with ancient Vedic techniques. Full report to come soon. But with low doses of Toad and 5-MeO and using these techniques, and it's very promising. And yeah, that's it.
That sounds really exciting. I'm signing up for that one. Yeah, I'd like to talk a bit about the being in full presence, because I feel that when we're really fully present for each moment, because the lives that we live, we're multidimensional. We've got things that we're organizing in the future and agendas and everything, and then we've got bits that we get stuck in the past. And for me personally, when I first came to this medicine 3 years ago, with all the things that I was organizing and holding and some of my old traumas, not all of me would be there, so I wasn't fully present. And this medicine has helped me to be utterly present for each moment. And in that, there's going to be beautiful reflections, and there's also going to be really challenging ones, like we're crossing a border and the customs have just pulled you over and they want to get everything out of your bag. How are you going to react? Can you access that full presence and that connection with the heart? Because that, for me, is where Great Spirit lives, in the heart. And if we can reside in that space, even when we have really challenging situations in front of us, then we kind of become time benders, and that's where the magic and the miracles are, in that connectedness. And that's where the God is, goddess.
Yeah, that presence is worth talking about. Like, just to get a little bit personal, maybe you've experienced, like, we know that there's the egoic mind as surrendering, the muscle as surrendering and letting go, and there's a capacity, there's, in that geography of that unified field, source consciousness, there is different capacity to engage with it, and the mind can be horrified, it can be ecstatic, it can be present as we go deeper vibrationally into source or deeper into ourselves. And I remember one session which was actually with the Church of Toad, the Temple of Awakening Divinity, the Temple of Awakening Divinity, where with the delivery mechanism, there was a glass delivery mechanism, and you inhale, and there's a rubber stopper, and I undershot, and so the medicine's coming on, and my consciousness is present to witness and be in relationship with the divine space, but just witnessing, just on the event horizon. And then they encouraged me to go again, finish and I overshot, and it created a bit of a buffer zone time-wise. So I was present in the experience of divine source and separate from it. And then all of a sudden, the intuitive understanding was like, oh, it's happening now, and I'm unwinding like an orange peel, and I'm going to melt into the oceanic nerva corpus samadhi of God. I thought this would happen years from now, and it's like, it's happening. And it can be awful in the original biblical sense, full of awe. It's so big that the mind is not meant to hold it, but sometimes we face it. And the Bible says you cannot look upon the naked face of God and survive. And in my Toad understanding, I interpret that to mean the ego is not meant to, you can go up to the edge of the event horizon of deep source, but to go to that next level, nerva corpus samadhi, and become deep source, you have to let go of the ego, of the mind, of the witnessing. And we know that Michael Pollan, the now famous psychedelic author, had a Toad experience, and it wasn't necessarily pleasant. It was very challenging for him because the mind went to that deep space and couldn't let go. And it's a dance. It's a relationship between you and the God that you are, of giving permission and working that surrender muscle. But just to say that it's not always pretty. It can be very overwhelming. It can be very awful. Has anyone got any thoughts on that?
I want to say what you're talking about with the ego and all that. Even here in our groups, our breakout groups, there's like 40 people, 30 people. And it's like it's becoming one ego, looking for the shared ego. Like if someone's saying what you were going to say, that's great, you know, and then you don't have to say it really. And if like people are doing things that your ego might want to, I want to be there, like to enjoy the other ego, seeing each other and enjoying each other's ego. So there's ultimately like one ego, like the yogis would say, if we're all in the right place, there's only one of us here.
I don't want to hog the mic, so just jump in anytime. But this is so juicy because it brings up the idea of group work in the 5MEO experience and the potential for that God source consciousness to express itself in multiple configurations. So you may have had your personal session one-on-one or within a group scenario going individually and space being held for you. There are some maybe more advanced or more challenging configurations that group work can be done at the same time. And it's my intuitive feeling that essentially we're all petals on the heavenly flower. like, think of it, it's like a root system. We're connected to this geography within us all, but outside space and time, it's one big thing manifesting in this root structure system as individuals, but it's the same space. So potentially in group works that I've done in Mexico, in countries where this is legal, I have experienced the group identity, the individual identity falling away, and as Tom was saying, sort of a shift from what's called the ego to the we-go, to this ability for that same source consciousness to express with more units to work from, like God's Lego, like building blocks, and to be present in the Gestalt configuration of the group. And I really believe it's a rich, fertile modality to explore within the Bufo Nation of simultaneous group work with sitters and protection and the right protocols and best practices and safety. And it's not for people who are just coming for a session for their first time or for individual healing. People that want to explore that relationship with the divine within with different configurations, because it's very profound work, or like a telepathic sensate sort of clustering of the individuals into this we-go, realizing, remembering, feeling that the God is speaking or manifesting through them. Anyone?
Group work is amazing. So yes, with low doses especially, I found that group work involving yogic methods can really get into some strange places. Just like Rak was saying, it becomes almost like more petals become one larger petal. And myself, I feel like the group becomes one organism functioning together, and I can feel when some blockages or something comes up somewhere else in the body of we. And at points, I'm able to feel like and it's still me because we're on low doses, I'm able to soften a part of my body or soften a part of my awareness and help ease that resistance, and vice versa. I feel sometimes in those spaces where I'll get stuck and I'll feel someone else or some other part of the body of we is able to soften into that space. It's much like on ayahuasca when people purge for each other, processing that energy, because we're all just one big organism. And I feel that 5-MeO and Toad is a great way to really experience that in group work. Just, whew.
I did an interview with Dr. Andrew Gallimore, who is a researcher he's in Europe at the moment, who is one of the guys who's working with Rick Strassman on what they're calling the DMT immersion program, taking protocols from intravenous drips and figuring out a titration method for NN-DMT to be administered intramuscularly for extending the experience. In that conversation, he pointed out a very interesting thing, that with our relationships with these substances, psychoactives, we're hacking our neural networks. And with repetition over time, the neuroplasticity starts to develop a muscle. So if, for instance, you are an indigenous curandero in Peru who's been working with ayahuasca for 70 years, you just need to walk into the room and you go into that ayahuasca space, because your neurology is starting to be entrained by the relationship with the medicine over time. And so I've noticed within other members of the community I've talked to who've been working with Bufo for a few years, it's like the relationship can change, that there's a potential to go still into deep samadhi or deep source, and there's also a potential for that deep oceanic source to come into your drop and to sort of retrofit. And it made me wonder if part of this relationship ongoing with the divine being is that it doesn't want to be separate from its creation, that in this point of his story, which is ending, and this challenging and transformative times we're living in, it's like there's something big going on, and we've got labels like awakening, etc., but it's not just the one species. But as we work with this medicine, I wonder if it's formatting us like a hard drive, not just to go into it, but for it to come into us, and to be conscious, like we've been talking the Vedas and the meditation and breath work, to be in a non-abiding state, to to purify the vessel and to have a relationship where it's like sometimes your ego goes offline, but God's peeking through. And we've seen, you may have seen sessions where people's bodies get up and move around and run around and they're not there. And I'm like, well, is it the limbic system? Is it a somatic back brain thing? Or is it actually maybe something coming through and just feeling into how it wears this form? So the relationship can go in many, many ways, and we're all exploring this capacity for the relationship with the divine.
Yeah, and I also feel, you know, with, like you shared, that this medicine, in one sense, is for everybody, because we're being asked to step up as human beings on this planet. And I believe that there is like a frequency that your soul is emitting, going, I want to evolve out of this place where I'm in. And that's when then the sacred geometry suddenly presents you with a TV program about Bufo or something. This medicine suddenly comes into your life because it's a full recalibration. It's the beginning of a recalibration that then also creates the new neural pathways in the mind and diminishes the places where we've been programmed, and from school, from our upbringing, from all the things that have kept us closed and haven't allowed the spirit of Creator to flow through us. So it's the beginning of our awakening, and how we bring that into our everyday lives and will be different for each person, because although we're all one, we all hold a specific frequency, which is the frequency of our soul, of our dharma, and what we've come to give in our lives. And it's a case of finding that and being put on that path without our minds, but surrendering to seeing what is opening ahead of us that will bring us to fulfilling our dharma in this life.
Well,
As you're saying that, you know, on that path and that journey, one way to know if you're in your dharma is if synchronicities are happening, and to pay attention to those synchronicities. You bump into somebody at the supermarket, no longer say, excuse me, now you say hi. You know? And so paying attention to that is one way to know you're on the right track.
I think that after smoking the toad, it's really important to invite the people to start meditation, to start to meditate, because once that our brain creates this space of silence and understanding, we need to know how to revisit this space without smoking anything. We need to take the moment of smoking toad as the perfect excuse to start a spiritual path, in case that the people that is in front of ourselves is not initiated in the spiritual field, right? So I think that we are kind of computers, no, in some ways. So the toad is like the most sophisticated program, in my opinion, to restore the system. And we need to give continuity to that, right?
I call that God's factory reset. It's like you get reset. Yeah. We have time for a few questions. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to contribute a question to the panelists? Anyone at all? Bueller? All right. Well, we go on. Here we go.
Hey there. My question relates back to what we were talking about with people being ready and screening and these sorts of things. Most of the screening that I've seen done has been more about psychological stability, of having a foundation that the mind is ready for this sort of thing. So people that are on antipsychotics or medications and things like that, factoring in those kind of factors. But on the side of, on a spiritual level and on a personal level of everyone having access to this medicine, from my experience, I kind of look at it as, well, when is anyone ready to die? You know, when is a baby ready to die on the birthing table? When is the man ready to die who has a heart attack? When is the person ready to die in a car accident? In the sense that everyone's going to get this journey. They just might need to wait a lifetime to have it. And I see this medicine as an absolute gift of giving us the ability to die and die and die and die, and to become experts at death, experts at facing ourselves and having that reality check. And that's how I've come to feel it, as a reality check, outside the mind of the Maya, but a reality check with my soul of where I'm at, what path am I walking, and am I in right relationship with my soul? And so the question ultimately being is are we all ready for this?
I would like to say that we are all ready for this medicine in a certain sense. Yet, in the present moment, is it the best time for us to work with this medicine? Will it serve us the most in the present moment? Or is there some things we can do to prepare? If I am going through my screening process with a potential sitter and they have acute PTSD and OCD, I may suggest some other routes first, offer some instruction on certain meditations, certain breath work, certain concept or certain scriptures to read into to help them get more comfortable with death or surrender, letting go, not being in control. If someone is in that state of acute OCD and PTSD, I mean, a total experience could be traumatic for them and make their daily life a lot more difficult. So it is never that I would turn someone away, but more use other tools first, possibly, as to allow them to receive the best experience possible or to be able to make the best use of it, and also mainly to not harm them. But in a sense, I do feel that everyone should be able to taste this medicine once in their life, yes.
One of my teachers said to me, you don't search a DMT or 5 mil DMT. They find you. Yeah. When it's your time, you are, like you say, synchronicity. You see this special ceremony and you feel comfortable and you go. I think you don't force to someone to use you. It's not your time. Some patients come with friends. I'll tell you, they know to come to. No, I'm not forced. When it's your time, they come. Yes.
And also, yeah, there's, you know, the path of non-attachment to this physical form, because that's the only reason that we're afraid of dying. And it builds like the rainbow bridge that, you know, the only one thing guaranteed in this room, that every single one of us is going to leave our body behind at some point. And the teachings of the practices that we can do with this medicine of becoming unafraid and unattached to this physical form, in the knowledge that we are eternal spirit souls. And that is the faith in God, in spirit. If we build our relationship with the creator spirit, with the source, then we're not going to be afraid to dissolve into the arms of that source, because we've taken the time to build that bridge and know that being, however that being resonates with us, whether it's a masculine, a feminine, a light, Krishna, Vishnu, whatever that is, that we've built that relationship through taking this medicine and through the practices that we do. So we become unafraid when our time comes, whether that's next week or in 50 years from now, that we can just exit with peace, with love, with no fear.
One more question from the audience, and then we're going to have a special ending.
I'm a neophyte in the usage of Bufo. I've only done it twice, but both of my experiences were like almost exactly the same, and it was straight to the non-dual state, to the God consciousness state, no? And I thought that everyone else was having this same thing until I started talking with some friends that had had the same experience. And that had tried it, but I saw that they were having different experiences. Some were more sexual, some were just, like a survival kind of situation. So, and when I've talked to some of the experts about this, they've told me that it all depends on your own personal state, maybe your own personal spiritual work or this. So my question is, does the experience depend on the spiritual work, let's say, that you've done throughout all your life, or does it depend on the state of consciousness that you are in the moment, that particular day? Maybe you've worked very hard spiritually, but you've had a bad day. What does the bufo react to? In other words, how is the experience created? And my question is, some of that have more experience, does the low dosages, let's say, because I have found that since both experiences, my meditation, it has served as a reference point, and it has helped my meditation to go into those states easier since then. But my question is it the dosage? Is it the lifetime experience development, or is it just the moment?
Here's what I'd say. There's three things logistically with the experience of 5-MeO. Hello? There's the dosage, and the dosage can mechanically lower the mind, but the mind can resist. So the second thing after dosage is the sensitivity or the armoring of the person. So if you have a lot of PTSD, trauma, blocks, armoring, you're not going to open up, and you can keep excavating with dosages, but you won't get to the fullness. And there shouldn't be an attachment to reaching that fullness. It's not about that. It's allowing it to naturally exude itself. And the third thing I usually say is the heavenly permissions and protocols, as above, so below. Sometimes it's your time, and it's going to reach in, and you're going to go full on a handshake. Or sometimes it's like, no, not today. And we can mechanistically think, oh, it's all about the dosage, and we'll look at the psychological profile, and you're going into the God within, and it's in control. And so past lifetimes, karmic contracts, your present state of mind, all these things holographically add up to who and what you are as you give permission or not to go into that experience. So lower doses can send meditators into a full release, and huge doses can send corporate CEOs into just thinking about their Ferraris. So it's about the relationship of the person and the medicine, I think.
I think it depends on all the things. And every time experience is different. Maybe it's similar, but every day it's different. Depends of, I don't know. I think, what do you eat? If you have, what is your intention? I think we are not talking about intention, and intention is a very important part of why do you smoke? What do you want to know, or what do you want to work with you? And I think the intention is very important. Is to bring the direction of the energies. I want that. Maybe if you want to go that way, this is the way. And the first time come to here, and I know it's not what do you want. I think the medicine, the Toad or 5-MeO have this more intelligence and brings to you the things you need. Yeah. Only what do you need, not what do you want. But it's important, your intention.
Yeah, I agree.
Any last comments from the panelists before we wind up?
I think all of the above is my answer for your question. All of those are factors. Your spiritual work throughout your life, all of your samskaras, your energetic imprint. What was your day like? Just like Pete said, what did you eat? What have you taken into your body? What is your energy like at the present moment? All of them are factors. I know every journey I've ever taken has been a little different, all within a very similar scope, but I also do feel that my progressed work with my spiritual practice, with yoga and meditation, has certainly shifted the way that I experience the medicine, and I've seen it in an arc. And there's a few people in this room who have seen me go into a spontaneous activation with no medicine, and so it works. Yeah, I'd say all of it affects it. Everything affects it, from dosage to intention to what you did 4 lifetimes ago.
I would like to share a story with you. One day, one of the most famous yogis of Mexico came to my studio to smoke the toad, and I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, this guy is so elevated and like super connected. This is going to be amazing. It's going to float in the toad experience. When I turn my face, this guy is going to be like, no? And the surprise was that it was one of the most challenging sessions that I ever had in my life. This guy was like fighting with the biggest ego I ever saw, because he knows everything. And so it was really difficult. And by the other hand, the woman that cleans my house for the last year, one day told me, one day she said to me, Señora, I want to smoke the toad. And I was like, really? Goyita, you want to smoke the toad? Yes. Do you understand what is the toad? Yes, I understand. Okay, let's do it. And we do the session, and was one of the most beautiful sessions that I ever had in my life. And Goyita never practiced yoga or spiritual stuff or eat organic. No? So I really believe that this is related with our humbleness, with our opening our hearts to the experience. That's everything.
Okay, so the tech crew at the back are going to play a little audio file to send us out from this panel. So thank you to all the panelists for your wisdom, and thank you to all of you in the Buffo Nation for being part of this. And let's be beautiful out there. Aho.